In conclusion, may I please remind you that it does not say RSVP on the Statue of Liberty. Thank you very much.
Oh my God.
That's not enough. You have to create, and it has to be better than what you were disrupting. That's a lot to do with an optimistic attitude after what we've been through. So, get ready.
Would it be so bad if it said RSVP on the Statue of Liberty?
It would actually be closer to what we probably want as the ideal scenario. And just know that even though what I'm about to describe may not resonate with you, it may offend even some of you, it's already happening behind the scenes without transparency. The only difference is we gave away our privacy without getting a lot of benefit for the buck. And it's not going to stop. And why not lean into the turn? Because what we are doing, what we have invested in, is not getting us the results we want. For example, we could extend the border wall, and there will always be tunnels. There will always be people that are manipulating it somehow to get over, under, or through it. Meanwhile, a bunch of resources is spent. Many thousands of people are deployed to it. Technology, construction materials, and it's not effective. It's not effective. The things we care about keeping criminals out, or at least knowing who they are and what they're up to, in some cases, is actually what the strategy is, can be better attained by getting the honest people, the people that have never created such a problem in their life, the people that are good, hardworking, and are family, that just happen to live in a different jurisdiction, getting them out of the way, because it's just noise. It's just hate in some cases, getting in the way of us being able to effectively do what we really want to do, which is stop hardened criminals that are murdering people. And we don't want to see it or hear about it. We want to know that it's just happening. We want to know that the bad guys aren't winning. We want to know that the bad guys aren't winning. We would all sleep better at night. We would all benefit from knowing that grandma is getting through the border easily without a lot of stress, and that my aunt is going the other way to get medicine and come back without a lot of stress, which is legal in small supplies and for personal use. Why would we want that noise cluttering the pursuit of justice, of criminals and traffickers and drug dealers? Why would we want grandma and my aunt who needs medicine cheaper to get in the way of the noise of policing such an important task? And a wall isn't going to do it. It hasn't. It has proven it. It slows it down, but it just gets them more creative, and they just get more sophisticated and put more money into it. Global entry. This is just right off the cuff. Global entry. Global entry is open to U.S. citizens, and I think residents, but I'm not sure. If you've ever entered the country legally and you still have the right to do so, why not offer that? Why not offer that program to grandma? Why not offer that program to even the workers that are on a J-1 visa? Or anyone that has documented family on the other side? Why not offer that? Why are you trying to control everything and then let evil triumph? Controlling everything is never going to work. And it's creating a lot of distractions to the real goal. So right off the top, I would say anyone that has no criminal history at all, that lives, you know, in a bordering country, they're not the problem. Put them in the express lane with an authorized, fingerprinted, digitally accessible, because it's happening anyway, honey. All right, I'm just going to say it that way. If you are living in a dream world, if you think that you aren't being tracked at this point, you are living in a fantasy. So let's just say it out loud, and let's have some benefit from it for a change. That's what everybody agreed to. That is the number one defense I heard with the Patriot Act. It's like, well, I have nothing to hide. Well, here we are. You have nothing to gain because you're creating something. We have collectively created a situation that is not benefiting, and we gave up our privacy to do it. So unless you're going to reverse it all and figure out how to do that effectively, that is a huge thing. And I'm not against it. I'm for it. But go figure that one out on your own. That is not a popular stance. And it may not be the right thing. Because it used to be, I think, we only track the criminals, right? There's a database of the criminals. But then it became, we have to track everyone just in case they're a criminal. And then we have to track everyone that they know and connect with in case they're involved with somebody that's criminal. Okay, that is complicated and it has errors all over it. And I am living proof of the weaponization of a system against somebody wrongfully. And I am not going to get off on a cross. I'm not going to get off on a cross about it. While we're at it, I'm just the messenger on this one. You have signed on for something in America that is not working, that is costing a lot, and you are not reaping the benefit of. And you need to turn that shit around to get what you want out of it, at least at this point, to get some benefit out of it. So anyone that has no criminal history should be able to apply for the express lane to get in and to get out. And until there's a reason to pull them off of that specialized privileged list, then they stay on it. And I mean, they stay on it until there's like a court thing or a police report against them that's legitimate, that has a witness. Something really significant that matters at a foundational level at this point. We are not talking about somebody overstaying their visa by 2 weeks, all right? Get over it. You don't own that land. We're talking about social benefits in some cases. And by the way, if some of these people have come and contributed to the very system that is corrupt and bankrupt, why are you going to blame them? They've paid their taxes. If they can prove they've paid their taxes, what makes you more different? Okay? Maybe they're on a path of staying 5 to 7 years and they're going to get, what do you call it? Naturalized. Are you going to make it harder for them to do the right thing? If you are, then you're part of the problem going forward, because we are changing the way we think about this. Because it hasn't worked. Not because we're on a moral high horse or something, or we think everybody's the same or deserves the same rights, heaven forbid. We have created the problem, and then we've tried to create the solution, but the people trying to create the solution have monopolized on it. And it's happened everywhere. You know it. You feel it. You see it. But sometimes we don't say it. It's not popular all the time. You want to do something for your country? Get the law-abiding, non-criminal grandmothers and your own family and your own extended family and your own friends off the fucking list of you can't come here. All right? Because that's bullshit. But at the same time I say this, I'm not a pussy about it. The minute there's a weapon violation, the minute somebody is harmed, they are fucking gone. But be clear, I'm not talking about a DMV infraction or going above the speed limit. You guys cannot weaponize these systems against people incorrectly, because it will come back and haunt us. It has. The wrong people get excluded, and then that creates victims. And no weapon formed, even a system, will prosper against some of these law-abiding people that deserve to do whatever they want on this world. You are not the judge of who gets in and out. The system can judge them for their actions, and that's who you punish. Originally, the great experiment of the United States of America was to prove that we could be governed by ourselves. Under God, not playing God. And depending on the topic, we have been successful or failed. But as we say in the product world, it's not ready to ship. We're not ready to roll that out. We have to fix it. The United States needs to live up to the example it was supposed to be, and then we need to roll that out. But it's time to fix it and do it right. So I would say, and I would argue, that it does say RSVP on the Statue of Liberty. We just need the process to handle the invitations and the express lane while redeploying the assets that have been working on things that aren't working efficiently into tracking and hunting criminals. We need to redeploy and reinvest in a different way the assets that have not gotten the job done the way we were attempting under Homeland Security. We are not more secure. And sometimes the call is coming from inside the house. There cannot be justice for all until this is directed correctly. And I agree with you on the thugs, murderers, rapists, drug felons. I agree with you on all of that. Even the ones that work for the deep state. They gots to go. They're stupid hoes. And yes, I talk in prose. I want you to think about the real criminals, the real crimes, without putting a label on the person, just the act. If you think that all of the evil doesn't have U.S. passports, you are sadly mistaken. If you think the call isn't coming from inside the house on some days, you are living in a fantasy world. We don't prop up things that aren't working for the good of the all anymore. That's not going to get us anywhere. It used to be a success factor when you could get a politician or like some department owner to say mistakes were made and we'll do better next time. That used to be a big friggin' success, to hear somebody just take accountability or responsibility for something. And then we just move on now. Okay, but 4 years passes, 8 years pass, and it's a different administration and the same problem. Why?
Because 21 agencies run the country regardless of who's in charge.
And if you go up against them, even if you are the sitting president, oh, you better do it the right way, because you're gone in 3 years, if not. So you wonder why the swamp doesn't get drained. The swamp is what we live in, and it's a cesspool now, and it's time not only to drain it, but to do it the right way, and to put bleach in it in some cases, pick the tool that goes with it. Some ends of the pool are a little more dirty than the others. We can live with some things. Like I'm saying here, we can live with people, taking personal use exemption and bringing medicine across the border. Why? Because our system's corrupt in that too. Don't get me started. Don't get me even started on that today. We can excuse somebody that came over on a J1 visa and then got another job, and then the J1 wasn't, extended correctly because the employer changed, and, a month went by, but they kept working because they needed the money. You can't understand that as a glitch versus a criminal who came over and murdered someone? You do not get to judge, but you can use your discernment and know that justice takes a long time. Justice has blinders. Justice has been weaponized. Justice isn't always justice. It's just the laurels that somebody's trying to sit on rather than actually fix problems that will be a legacy and extend after they're gone. It is not one person. It is not one person. It is one person setting the tone, the culture, and what is acceptable and what is not from the highest point. And that may or may not be your elected official. But you need to be choosing ones that resonate with what you believe is the right indicator on those fronts. And you need to also know that it's not friggin' easy for them to get there, to stay there, to get their agenda accomplished in 4 years. Damn near impossible. You know how people can hold grudges. In 5 years, and I'm not advocating for social, what do you call it? That social measuring thing that just seems to be going off the deep end in some places. That is not the solution either. It's called balance, okay? And it starts with not murdering someone, not breaking a major law that could land you in prison. We can talk about white collar, but that's not what we're talking about with the border, okay? That's not. If somebody's a white collar criminal, they can buy a fucking passport. Some countries have price tags published. In the US, it's a little more like, let's make a deal. Don't get me wrong. I don't know which is worse. Saying that you had me at 500 grand for a residence permit, or, well, we see you made a movie over here for 100 million. We kind of like ya. Just don't rape anyone. Yeah, I think we can get this passport issued. It's not even funny. I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because this is the reality. And you guys either don't know it or are living in a fantasy world. But I digress. Assets at the border. I'm not saying they all go away. I'm saying this express lane and this idea that it isn't the flag that they carry that sets the invite. That is never going to work. That is just going to make it worse. And it's hateful. And I'm not going into it now, but the US and Mexico have created so many of the problems south of them. It is such a huge topic and so much research. But I know, you guys, you really don't care about that because the measure is what I'm saying. Grandma shows up at the border and walks right through. She gets scanned and she walks right through. She didn't wait 5 hours. She didn't stand in line at the airport for 5 hours. She just walks right through. Because we know there are only cookies in her bag and she walked through the scanning thing. We know her fingerprints. And we know that where she comes from says, yeah, she's never done anything wrong in her life. And she's been here 10 times before. Grandma has the right to walk through that border whenever she goddamn wants. She's earned that right at this point. Having lived in that culture and in this world for as long as she has, and witnessed everything that she has, and has done nothing wrong, and has kept her conscience and her legal rap sheet at a 0, I don't want to hear about it. Let grandma in. There will be debates about where that grandma line and purity ends, but the system needs to be built. And the system needs to be contained. It can't be done outside of the government. It can't. Why? Voter election fraud. That's why. And even Dominion voting, anyone? Was that them on the bike? Even just for the purity factor, it has to be open sourced. So if you have the ID number of the person somehow, because you're enforcement from one of the countries, or you are given it at a port of entry, either, as an actual encrypted token, let's call it. It's not, but maybe it is. I'm not even going there. And you have access to the system. You have the ability to know that grandma's not an issue within 2 seconds. It's possible. They do it behind the scenes. I'm just saying we need it open. We need it open so it can be policed and so that we trust it. We are going to open source the systems that run the border so that everybody can fucking see it. That everybody knows, just like when Google got hacked and their algorithm got released and some people started looking at it, and there's a lot of debate about, is this really active, is this old, all that shit. No, we will release, because it's not secret, okay? It's not a secret. Going into the actual system and making changes, that's a secret. But looking at how it works and how people are judged is not a secret. How else can you fight a system when you're wrongfully, noted as something, if you don't have the information or know how it works? You can't. And your lawyer can't either. We don't need this shit. It's not solving anything. We will open source the systems that we use for entry and exit. And for imports. Because trafficking is happening. And they're happening on boats. They're happening with fake IDs. If we don't do this, we won't be able to trust it. We'll constantly be throwing money at it. And grandma will be sitting there in the heat trying to walk across the border for 5 hours. She is not the issue. The issue is 100 miles away, digging a tunnel. And they are well fucking funded. They are well fucking funded. And they are funded in some cases by people you vote for and people you know in the political and in the even philanthropy, like every fucking industry has a bad apple somewhere in it. It's just the way it is. We are not throwing out the whole bushel. And we are not going to waste our time judging fruit all day long. It is a bad use of resources. Once the express lane is in, once the process is established, once people, I'd say you're giving up your privacy, but you're really not. You're just wearing it as a badge. An undiscernible to the normal person badge. And if you had nothing to hide when the Patriot Act came up, then what's changed? You want the people that enter to follow the laws of the land. Well, the Patriot Act, still the law of the land, right? Well, here's your fingerprint reader. By the way, it'll help people later. Exclude people from being called criminals when they're not. Why? Because we have their biometrics. Oh, you're the sign of the beast or whatever. It's already here. It's on your phone. It's on your paycheck. Some people will say it's, it's in your body now. You could go to that level if you want, if it helps you. I'm not going to debate that here. We are connected. And a lot of us that are well-meaning and have done nothing wrong don't want to deal with this crap anymore. And we see the problem and we want to help, but you all are judging things and coming to conclusions that aren't wrong, but they're not going to work. If you try to control everything, you will control nothing. If you try to control everything, you will control nothing. By not making it easy, by not having a process that just is fair, cheap, and works, you're making victims, and you're making it worse. And based on like the stats, it's not solving the violent crimes. So let's redeploy. Let's redeploy efforts. Let's redeploy assets. Let's think about it before we just keep doing what wasn't working. I was called to this message today. I didn't choose it, actually. I want to go to the beach. I'm walking to the beach, and I couldn't even get it out and get it to go away. And it's not on camera because I don't want to film today. I don't even have... This stuff is important. Realize that we need maybe a scalpel in some cases instead of a machete, and the other way around too. Otherwise, you're just butchering everything. No one's winning, and everybody's not getting what they need out of it.
There are churches everywhere. There are just churches in this whole country as a church. And then there's one in the train station too. Can't we get extra Johns?